We're going to start our study in Brazilian instruments with the chocalho. That's a pretty simple instrument to play. Chocalho is the name we give in Brazil to every kind of shaker. It can be a metal shaker, it can be a wooden shaker. So everything you have to do when you play the chocalho is pretty much move your arms. So you move your arms. If you want a more sound, you keep the seeds in the middle of the instrument. If you want a less sound, you take the seeds to the corner of the instrument. It do slightly less movement. So by this way, you're going to have louder sounds and softer sounds. So to get just straight notes, you just move your arms in both directions. And if you want an accent, now you're going to use more movement of the arm and also wrist movement. So if you want an accent, use wrist and more arms. Can be for outside, can be in the direction of your body. That's pretty much the technique on a chocalho. Now let's start taking a look in the exercise. Let's start with exercise number 1. Exercise number 1, all we have to do is move the arm in both directions, and be sure you don't have any accent. So take the instrument with the tip of your fingers, not to get the sound of the instrument out. So be gentle with the instrument, just tip of your fingers. And now let's start exercise number 1. Be sure we don't have any kind of accent. Slightly move your arms. No wrist. The same sound. Let's play now exercise number 2. We have accents in the downbeats. 1 and 2 and. Now exercise number 3. 1 and 2 and. Exercise number 4 is the first exercise. You're going to have accents with a motion to our body. So there's a different motion. So let's play now exercise number 4. 1 and 2 and. Now exercise number 5. 1 and 2 and. Now exercise number 6. 1 and 2 and. Exercise number 7. 1 and 2 and. On exercise number 8, now we're going to start working in a kind of half accent. Be sure that these last 360 notes, they are not really accent. There's a little bit less than accent. This last 360 notes is very important for the groove. We're going to work in other instruments a lot in these last 60 notes. That kind of, you're going to give you the upbeat, you're going to give the impulse to the next bar. So let's see now exercise number 8. 1 and 2 and. So the last 360 notes, they're not really accents, but they push the groove. Exercise number 9 is what we call basic pattern. So the basic Brazilian pattern that we cover in the introduction. So be sure you have just the tip of your fingers on the instrument and move your arm, move your wrists. And now in exercise number 9, the basic pattern, you're going to have accents and half accents. Relax your body, relax your arm. Just groove. So 1 and 2 and. So smile. That's important too. To get the right groove, you gotta be having fun. Brazilian music is all about this, having fun. See the difference between the accent and the last 360 notes. I think it's important, every time you want to understand better a phrasing, it's important to sing. Let's try to sing this basic pattern. Taka chikata to do do duk chikata to do do duk chikat 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 to do do duk. Okay, let's try sing it first and then let's play together. 1 and 2 and chikat to do do duk chikat to do do duk chikat to do do duk chikat to do do duk. Relax, move your body. And have fun. Now last exercise, exercise number 10. Exercise number 10 is the Brazilian clave. So let's play the Brazilian clave on a chocalho. 1 and 2 and. Relax and have fun. Our next instrument is going to be the Reco-reco, or the Brazilian guiro. We don't say Reco-reco, we say like a kind with a H, so we say Reco-reco. So Reco-reco, we can find Reco-reco wooden, that's normally made from bamboo, or we can have also metal reco-reco. That's normally the metal reco-reco is done with the springs. So it's a spring guiro. Spring in Portuguese is mola. So we call this instrument reco-reco, the mola. So the sticks, instead of a normal stick, we have a kind of scraper. So it's a kind of a multiple stick. You have a lot of sticks at the same time. And that's gonna give you a more characteristic sound of the instrument. So here is the one handmade scraper to the reco-reco de madeira, wooden reco-reco. So to start playing reco-reco, it's important to hold the instrument, again, just gentle, just with the tip of your fingers. Don't put too much contact with the hand. That's gonna take off the sound. So be gentle, just the tip of your fingers. Some guiros have 2 holes here. I would advise not putting the fingers here. So Latin people used to play the reco-reco on standing, and probably they would put the fingers inside the instrument. But we from Brazil, we play reco-reco in a horizontal position, facing to the front, and we just use the tip of the fingers. So if you wanna, before you start playing reco-reco, it's very important to take your time to see where the best sound is. You can have a pretty dead instrument, or you can have a real full instrument. So take your time, see in which part of the instrument is gonna sound better. You see, in this case it's here. So that's one thing. Another thing is which part of the scraper you're gonna use it. So if you want a softer sound, you just use the very end of your scraper. If you want to have a full sound, use the middle of the scraper. If you want to have more a darker sound, use the very end of the stick. Okay, normal 60 notes on an instrument are done pretty much as a short notes. That comes an important thing about the technique on the reco-reco. The technique on the reco-reco is pretty much moving the wrist. So don't keep your wrist horizontal to the floor. You keep your wrist kind of in a vertical position that is gonna allow you to move your wrist. So don't play reco-reco with the arm. Instead, play with the wrist. So everything that's moving is the wrist. So you have shorter 60 notes and always a movement with the wrist. Let's start with the exercise on a reco-reco. Let's start exercise 11. Exercise 11, be sure you just move your wrist slightly. And let's start all these exercises with the first note for the outside of the instrument. That's gonna help the phrase. So we start outside and it's shorter 60 notes. That's exercise 11. Be sure you just use your wrist. Avoid using the arms like this. That's too heavy. So, nice and soft and relax. Now exercise 12. We're going to start having accents. Just to press slightly the scrape, you're going to have accents. 1 and 2 and. Now, number 13th. 1 and 2 and. Now, number 14th. Repair the number 14 is the first one. You have accent for your side. So, in the upbeat, 1 and 2 and. Now exercise 15th. 1 and 2 and. Now exercise 17th. 1 and 2 and. Now for exercise 18, let's switch and play the Reco-reco di molla, so the spring gyro. To play the Reco-reco di molla, to avoid a fuller sound from the springs that sometimes can be too loud, I advise slightly to damp the strings with your thumb. So you're gonna have a little bit more even sound of the springs. So, the same thing as the wooden gyro or the wooden Reco-reco, just use short 16 notes. And now on exercise 18th, you're going to use like we call half accents. So the 3 last 16 notes will be like half accent. And they will get the groove, they will get the impulse for the next beat. So these 3 last 16 notes are very important. Listen and try to imitate. So exercise 18th. 1 and 2 and. Exercise 19th is the basic pattern, so the basic Brazilian pattern, where we have accents and half accents. So, relax, move your arms, relax your arms, move slightly up and down, move slightly your body to the sides. Just relax and have fun. Smile. That helps a lot also to get a nice groove. You cannot be so serious playing this kind of music. So, have fun. So last one is exercise number 20. That's the Brazilian claves. So let's play Brazilian claves on a Reco-reco de mola. So let's have fun, relax, and let's go. 1 and 2 and... Our next instrument is going to be the surdo. Surdo is the Brazilian name for a bass drum. In fact, there's not a bass drum. That's really a surdo. So, to play the surdo, you're going to need a surdo stick. That's pretty much a mallet, a little bit bigger, with a bigger head. And to hold the surdo, so in my case, I'm right-handed. So I'm going to hold the stick with the right hand. So I take the other arm, and I'm going to insert inside the strap and put also my neck here. So the instrument we're going to be hold is slightly for this side, leaving the right arm with the stick free for the performance. So that's the position to play the surdo. To play the surdo, you're going to use the stick and you're going to use the hand. The hand pretty much touch with the tip of the fingers, slightly touch. Sometimes just touch to dampen the sound, and sometimes is used also as a way to produce a sound. And the stick, take your time and see what's the best sound of the drum head. Sometimes too close in a corner is too metallic. Normally the best sound of the surdo is pretty much in the center or close to the center. So, and then let's use the hand to close. You're going to have closed sounds, and without a hand, we're going to have open sounds. That is pretty much exercise 21. We're going to have first close and second open. 1 and 2 and... So the second one is going to be the open. Sometimes some people think that could be 1, 2, 1, 2, but it's not. In the Brazilian music, the heavier one, the loudest one is always the 2. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now exercise number 22. So you're going to have 2 closed and 2 open. So on exercise number 23, now we're going to use the hand as a closed hand, closed, and an open hand. So we're going to strike the instrument and stay here, closed, and strike and open. So this movement with the hand. So that's going to be exercise 23. 1 and 2 and 1. little bit faster. 1 and 2 and. Now exercise 24. 1 and 2 and. Now, exercise 25. Notice that exercise number 25, so the two first notes will be with the hand. It's kind of the first beat is muted, and just the second beat is going to sound. So that is 25. 1 and 2 and. Exercise 26. 1 and 2 and. Exercise number 27, we're going to have a new sound. So that's the sound of the rim. We're going to hit the rim with a stick before we hit the drum head. So in this motion, we should not hit the rim here. We should hit the rim here close to the body. So exercise number 27 is pretty much a combination with the rim and the stroke. So close it. Rim, open, rim, close, rim, open, rim. A little bit faster. Exercise 28 is the extension of 27. Now you're going to use the rim and also the hand. So very slower. Number 28 is going to be one and two and 1 and 2 and 1. A little bit faster. Exercise 29 is the extension of the 28, just with a small cut at the end. Again, like last exercise, relax, move your body, and have fun. 1 and 2 and... Our next instrument is the caixa, or like we say in Brazil, caixa clara. So caixa is the snare drum. Really, the caixa doesn't have that beautiful sound as a classical or symphonic snare drum. The caixa, used in a samba, is a pretty metallic sound, very simple construction, but the sound is very characteristic for the samba sound. The caixa will pretty much keep the 16-note groove, but the important thing is how to make this groove. We're going to work a little bit on how to understand better this groove in the 16 notes. The first is we have to think is an accent in the third 16 note. But this accent should not be exaggerated. So is pretty much exercise number 30. So 1 and 2 and. Don't exaggerate this accent. No, just an accent, but still with a nice groove. Now the next important thing is, like we spoke before, is the last 316 notes. That's where we're gonna have all the groove from the caixa. It's important that these last 316 notes, they are not even. If you listen, they are really not even, but I think it's not good to make a mathematical form to say exactly how they should sound. I think the best thing is just listen and try to imitate. So exercise 31, we're gonna work in this groove from the last 316 notes. So we have 1 and 2 and. Notice that that's not accent. There's a little bit more than a single note, but it's also not an accent. And they are not even. So let's do it again. 31, 1 and 2 and. The next exercise is the basic pattern, as we covered before. So now we're going to have accent and half accent like before. More important than the other instruments, just relax your body, smile, and have fun. Let's do the basic pattern as written in exercise 32. 1 and 2 and. And the last one is the Brazilian claves. So let's play the Brazilian claves. Relax, dance, have fun, and let's groove. So exercise 33, the Brazilian claves. 1 and 2 and... Our next instrument is the Agogô. Agogo or Agogo bell. So normally are two bells attached to the other, so they were going to work together. The sound of the bells sometimes are really very loud and very metallic. To avoid this, I advise slightly damp with the fingers. So hold it in a way they damp a little bit the sound. Instead of having a really metallic sound, you're going to have a little bit drier sound. So the sound quality is much better. Now let's start exercise 34. 1 and 2. Now exercise 35. 1 and 2 and... Another technique we use when we play Agogo bells is just clicking one Agogo bell against the other. So beside the rhythm, we just click this as a way to enhance the rhythm. So let's go exercise 36. 1 and 2 and... And finally, exercise number 37. Our next instrument is the Triangulo or triangle. So although the Brazilian triangle is not always a perfect triangle, sometimes it's a little bit like this, and probably the quality of the Brazilian triangle is not as good as a classical triangle, but it fits pretty well the music. So first thing is how to hold the instrument. It's very important. So we don't have a clip, we just hold it with a hand. So you insert your fingers, you straighten your hand and insert your fingers inside the instrument. So you're gonna leave the weight of the triangulo just over your fingers. And now we're gonna have like this way open sounds. If you close your fingers, you're gonna have closed sounds. So we're pretty much gonna work with open sounds and closed sounds. Be sure when you want open sounds, you really open the fingers to get a full sound. Another thing very important in the triangulo is the way to phrase. The phrase is very important. It can sound completely different. If you just keep the 60 notes straight down, gonna sound like this. But normally in Brazil we play inside the instrument, so the same rhythm is gonna sound different. Sounds much more looser, sounds much more in a style. So, always we start down, the first stroke down. That's important. So with this in mind, let's play exercise 38. It's pretty much all notes closed, started down, and just keeping the 60 notes inside the instrument. Now exercise number 39. We'll combine closed sounds and open sounds. Exercise number 40. 1 and 2 and. And finally, exercise 41. 1 and 2 and. One thing that's very important to note is that Triangulo is not playing on samba. You can fit in the rhythm of the samba, but it does not belong to the style. It's really not appropriate to play Triangulo in a samba. So Triangulo is pretty much played in another very popular rhythm that call it bayon. We're gonna see a little of the bayon at the end of the book. We're gonna play some bars of bayon. I'm gonna explain a little bit more about the surdo, about the other instruments. So, but let's now, as exercise 42, I would like to play the rhythm of bayon and with the triangulo. Notice that is the same pattern as exercise 41, but important thing is the accent or the open and closing sound is in a different place. In the bayon, the first is always going to be closed, second, third, 4, 1, open, open, closed, 1. So notice this different and open and a closed sound that's going to give you a completely different sound. So let's go. 1 and 2 and.